Right, so we're live. How do I get people to come into it, though?
What do you mean? How do you get people to come into it?
Like, how do I share the broadcast? You get me?
Isn't it on YouTube?
Sorry.
Is it not on YouTube?
Yeah, but like, if I want to share it on people, share it on Twitter so people join.
Can you not just copy the link?
Just click share on YouTube.
Yeah, copy the link, will you?
Yeah.
Yo, guys, we're live. Eh?
Yeah.
Hey, talk to me, guys.
Right. So I just tweet the link off YouTube, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds. I just tweeted it out anyway. May as well not start talking until people join in it. Like, there's no point until people are watching. Because otherwise, it's just us chatting to ourselves, isn't it, really? You know what I mean? So.
Can anyone else hear someone breathing like mad?
Yeah.
Oh, it might be my mic, to be fair. I don't know.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Harry.
I get comments from my mates when I'm on parties saying that they can hear me breathing, so it's probably
Yo, guys, let me just give you guys an update on what's going on with Arsenal while he's setting that up.
Yeah.
Today has been an absolute roller coaster for everybody at Arsenal. We started off the day thinking we still had a chance to get Isaac and that the club was going to pay a 75 million release clause. Also, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang this morning was photographed in Spain, showed up in Spain, did the photo and everything. Then the deal broke apart. It fell apart. It wasn't going to happen. He was supposed to come back to London. Then he terminated his own contract, which is about 25 million pounds. He terminated the remainder of his contract, which he's getting 30K a week, 350K plus, almost something like that a week, to now get only 100 euros over at Barcelona, which is one of his dream moves, has always been to play for either Real Madrid or Barcelona, but his dream move was always Real Madrid. Now he's going to be playing for Barcelona. And Ousmane Dembele rejected Arsenal. MTT was linked to Arsenal, and Arsenal were going to force the move by getting MTT. He got injured in training today. That's how that didn't happen. And Fabrizio Romano, who said we're going to sign a midfielder in the 16th of January, had today said nobody's coming in most likely. So
Brilliant.
And that's after being linked to, I did the math. We were linked to 46 players this window. We didn't sign one.
So basically a typical Arsenal transfer window then, isn't it, really?
Nah, it's actually the opposite of what happened last window, where we spent the most money and we signed like the most players. It's just crazy. We've basically bought a player every single window since Unai Emery left. What is that? 3 windows?
Shared it now, so hopefully.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
So what? You're just left with Lacazette and Nketiah then as striking options.
At the moment, yeah, we're left with two. We're left with 2 players as striking options. That's it. I thought we would have at least brought somebody in, but now we didn't bring anybody in. And Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah total combined have 2 goals this season in open play.
That's hilarious.
God, I thought our striking options were bad. Jesus wept.
Who do you support?
Chelsea.
Bro, Lukaku by himself has more goals than Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette.
That's good.
Hilarious.
I think Timo Werner has more goals than them. How many goals Timo Werner have?
I don't know. Not that many. Probably minus goals at this point. If you take away goals he's had disallowed, he's probably on the minus goals. But
bro, if we had Timo Werner, he would be actually the perfect goalkeeper, the perfect player for our system. The perfect striker.
What, Werner, you think?
Yeah, because he links up play, right?
Not really. He's more like the reason that I feel like he's been a bit hard done by at Chelsea is, you see, we're worse off when he doesn't play. Not because we don't score goals when he doesn't play.
Because he's a traditional.
It's because he spreads defenses, and he makes defenses like have to drop back and like look over their shoulder. So he creates space for everyone else because he's always making these runs. People always end up having to follow him, and he helps like move people about and keep people on the toes, which would in theory work perfectly with Lukaku. If one person goes and the other one stays and drops in, then it would be quite effective. But it's not quite worked out like that for some reason. But
No, I think right. We'll just move on to some breaking news, and it is that Liverpool have agreed a fee with Fulham for Fabio Carvalho. Obviously, they've got to rush through the personal and the medical. But what do you guys make of this deal? Obviously, I'm very excited as a Liverpool fan. I'll go to Nick. What do you think about this deal?
Liverpool don't sign players, but they sign a player today like crazy.
Honestly, man, like on Fabio.
If it's like, sorry, we pull the trigger. If it's like someone we've watched for a while, I think like we're mainly targeting.
I can't believe it, bro. At the beginning of the window, if you told me Liverpool were gonna sign 2 players and Arsenal weren't gonna sign anybody, I would have been like, you're smoking something.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, like going into this window, like I didn't even know it was open until like 3 days ago. Like it pretty much like every window these past couple of years of Liverpool, where it's just I go into the window, I don't even like read that much news or whatnot. Until
you
like
really expect that to happen.
Right, and like until like 3 days ago, I see like Luis Diaz, linked to Liverpool. Like I live on the East Coast, so it was around like, maybe like 10 p.m. I want to say. I just see random links from Pipe on Luis Diaz, but on Fabio Carvalho itself, I mean it's a perfect deal in my opinion. Signing a young promising player, we kind of did this with Harvey Elliott, where we signed him from Fulham, and we also did the same thing with Cade Gordon from Derby County. So I wonder if it's like our model where we go like, all right, maybe our academy isn't the best as maybe like Chelsea's with Cobham or Arsenal or whatnot, but maybe we can start like picking up players from other I guess clubs for a cheap, relatively for fee, where we may pick them up 16, 17, and then really start to like develop them and whatnot. And this deal is like a prime example of it. It's maybe not like for I think Cade Gordon was $600K. This one's obviously what is it, 10 million?
I think it's going to rise to 10 million or something. Yeah,
so that's a substantial like increase in fee. But again, like it's a great deal on top of Luis Diaz. Was like I said, it's a 10 out of 10 window for Liverpool, especially for January. We all know like teams don't make that many moves in January, especially Liverpool. Except what was it like Van Dijk, Luis Suarez. And Luis Suarez was like 10 years ago, right? So, yeah, man, it's just 10 out of 10 window, at least in my opinion. And this Fabio Carvalho kid, he looks promising, man. And like I said to Declan before, it's a perfect move just because if we were going to sign him and he stayed with LFC, he wasn't going to play that many games, right? So we just signed Luis Diaz. He's going to get those minutes that maybe if we didn't sign Luis Diaz, but we did sign Fabio Carvalho, he would have got those minutes, but that's not going to happen, right? So Fabio Carvalho stays at Fulham. He gets all those minutes where he's going to start pretty much every game because Fulham are trying to get promoted. And he's going to keep playing. He's not going to collect dust over here. It's just a perfect combination, man. Perfect combination.
Yeah, I think obviously they've wanted to avoid a tribunal, and we have kind of, because I think both clubs kind of felt burned by the Harvey Elliott deal. They felt like they never got enough. Liverpool felt like they got ripped off essentially.
How much did you have to pay for Harvey Elliott in the end?
4.3 million, and it was a record for a 16-year-old at a tribunal, which obviously, looking back, peanuts, mate, for a player of that quality. Like the way he slotted into our team seamless. Then you've got to hope that this Carvalho can do the same kind of thing. But obviously, makes them most sense to loan him back to Fulham, I think, because it makes them want to give you him because they don't want to lose him in the middle of a promotion charge, and they don't want to get like absolute peanuts for him in the summer. Because if like the likes of Dortmund got him or Barca, they'll have to pay like 500k, I think. So if they can get 10 mil for him now, no brainer.
You guys really did good this window, honestly. But I was gonna just say, like, no one expected you to get this done. No one did, right? No one expected you to get 2 signings done. No one expected.
Especially as the days gone on as well, it's looked more and more like it wasn't going to happen, and then all of a sudden it's happened. If you get me as well, like I've been tweeting all day, like, oh, the longer this goes on, it's not happening, kind of thing. And obviously, it's happening now by the looks. If the medical and the personal terms get done in time, obviously that's dependent. But I suspect it will, because you can submit a deal sheet, can't you? And then you get extra time till 1 o'clock, I think so.
Yeah, you get another 2 hours, don't you?
So that's me. Basically, that's me staying up till 1 o'clock to
Yeah.
It was more so like, at least for me, like on Luis Diaz, like spending, what was that thing? Is it 50 million pounds or euros?
Euros, I think, right?
It was
Is that like
35 million up front, 37.5 up front, and then like 15 in add-ons if it obviously gets to that.
Right. So that was even more of like a surprise, just because I'm like,
Yeah.
it just came out of nowhere. You know what I'm trying to say? Like this Fabio Carvalho, it was definitely easier to kind of like take in because of the Luis Diaz deal. But the Luis Diaz deal was first, obviously. It was off rip. So when I started seeing the news, I was like, wow, this is like so surprising. Like I just said, I went into this window, no
Yeah.
expectations. Last summer, I did have huge amounts of expectation and nothing happened. So obviously, I'm going to go into this window where it's just like,
One sec,
nothing's going to happen.
we'll just move on because a viewer's asked us this comment. What's your opinions on Bentancur and Kulusevski helping Tottenham finish top 4? So we'll move on to you, Igal, because you're an Arsenal fan. So what do you think? Can them players help Arsenal get top 4 football this season? Tottenham, sorry, get top 4 this season over Arsenal.
I don't think Tottenham are going to get top 4 this season, even with those 2 signings. I really do think their squad has not really moved the needle that much. Bentancur and Kulusevski coming in, they're still going to get rid of 4 to 5 players, Tottenham, this window that was part of their first team squad. I personally think they've stayed the same. They haven't really gone up a level. They haven't really gone to a second gear. They've just kind of stayed the same. So it's like,
And thanks.
What's really changed?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, Kulusevski was good before he went to Juve. I don't think he's had a great time at Juve. But you see it all the time. A player moves and they like, if they like the new club, if they actually feel loved by the fans, if they're getting game time, proper game time, then they kick on. So maybe he can. Bentancur, from what I've seen, looks like a good quality midfielder. Whether he helps Tottenham's issues fully, I'm not sure. I think they need more. I think they need more attackers really as well. But also we'll move on a bit more to like another point, like you said at the start. Arsenal getting rid of Aubameyang leaves Lacazette and Nketiah. West Ham haven't strengthened at all, which is very surprising considering that they've just got like this new billionaire fella in, and also Manchester United haven't strengthened either.
They tried to bid for Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, which was never going to happen, but they tried.
Yeah. But like that's what I mean. They should be targeting realistic people, not people who you know you're not going to get. Really, I think anyway. Personally, if you ask me, you should be targeting people who you know you can get, not people who you know you can't. You're probably not going to have a chance, especially halfway through the season when Leeds are struggling anyway. So they're not going to want to like get rid of more people.
I think both the Spurs ones are really good signings. Like I think they've got rid of Brian Hill, Lo Celso, and Ndombele. Obviously, you're looking at like 2 centre midfielders and a wide player going out. I think Lo Celso and Ndombele both have options to buy. Ndombele is like for the same amount that Tottenham paid for him, so I doubt that one would probably get activated. Lo Celso's, I don't know what the amount is, but if you're looking at like Bentancur and Kulusevski, first the one of the Tottenham guys, I think it's like either the director of football or one of them guys. He was at Juve previously, so he obviously knows these guys for his time at Juve. And I think while you are sort of swapping players in terms of the amount of squad depth you've got, I think if you're thinking of like Conte wanting to play the 2 in midfield, I think Bentancur and Højbjerg as the 2 or Bentancur and Skit offers you a lot more like solidity in it. Like it's a lot stronger of a midfield. And then Kulusevski means that you can play a front 3 of Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, which I think is pretty potent as well.
Crystal Palace just signed a player.
Mateta,
He's signed permanently, hasn't he?
What's it called? On your point, John, on the front 3 of Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, what I do have to say about that is I think Kulusevski, like Spurs haven't had really, I guess, a creator in the final third since I guess Christian Erickson left in 2020 to Inter. And that kind of really unlocked Kane and Son. I believe in 2017, 2018, Kane finished 1 goal behind Mo Salah. And with this creator, I guess, in Kulusevski, like he may not be, he's quick, but I wouldn't say he's like a touchline winger where he can beat a man every single time. He's more of like, come and show for the ball, collect the ball, and really trying to pick out a pass, I guess, what I'm trying to say. and I think that it really helped Kane in some, but it all depends on Kulusevski, right? So just because Kane, he relies on service, in my opinion. Yes, he can create a goal out of nothing just because of his finishing ability. Son can probably do that as well, but more so on Kane, I think Kulusevski will like massively help Kane if he can like pick up form.
Yeah, I think as well. What's with Kulusevski as well. One of his like best season, which sort of put him on the radar, was when he was playing for Parma, and obviously his goals pretty much kept Parma up. And then when he left, they basically got pretty much a damning relegation the season after. But if you're looking at like the way Conte wants to play, especially against some of maybe the better sides, it's all about trying to play on the counter attack. And you've seen before how good Son and Kane are at linking up as a two and playing on that counter. And if you can add Kulusevski to that sort of counter attacking threat as a 3 rather than a 2, then you're looking at probably quite a dangerous team who can sit back and absorb the pressure with sort of the solidity they've now got in midfield, and then hit you when you get too comfortable or when they get the ball in the limited time they have it, and be quite dangerous with it. So I think overall, considering how poorly it looked Spurs' window was going to be probably yesterday or even the day before, it's now probably made them, I would say, a lot more dangerous a team, and I'm just glad we've played all our games against them already. Because
I think just to add on John's point, like Spurs adding these 2 men in looks a lot better now, considering the likes of Arsenal, United, and West Ham haven't. If they'd have all added good players, you'd have been like Tottenham. But now they've added 2 relatively quality players, and other people haven't. So it's like, it's going to welcome some new people into the equation. Let's give them one sec.
I'm just going to head off, bro, but I'm going to say this.
Go on, man.
I honestly think top 4 is still open for anybody to win it.
It is. Top four is going to be an interesting race this season. And we'll move on to the Man United now. Peace out to you, go. On to Harry and Usman. We'll give them a chance to talk. What do you think's gone wrong with Man United's window? We'll start with Usman first, and then Harry. So, Usman, what do you think's gone wrong with Manchester United's window, mate?
I mean, where do you start? What I think a better question is what's gone right, because it's very difficult to say, really. It's been an absolute mess from the get-go. I mean, you've got a manager, and Ralph Rangnick has come out publicly on numerous occasions saying that he doesn't want Jesse Lingard at the club. Not in a disrespectful manner, but in the sense that he's given him his blessing to leave. And then come at the end of the window, the club's begging Lingard to stay, and at the point that we're blocking his move. You then hear reports about us blocking Henderson move to Watford, which again makes absolutely no sense because he's not playing at all. And we get rid of Van der Beek, don't bring in replacement. It's just been an absolute embarrassment, really. Like, we've got rid of Martial, got rid of Ahmad. Of course, certain situation happened that we don't need to mention, of course. But it's just been a catalogue of errors, and it's been an accumulation of the board having an absolute Scooby-Doo when it comes to running a club, coming together in perfect harmony to really, do better than they normally do. So, yeah, the answer to your question is everything's gone wrong, nothing's gone right. There's not really a positive.
I'm gonna move it on to Harry. So Thomas has asked, do you think Ronaldo has helped or hindered Manchester United?
Wow, that's a whole nother debate, isn't it? I think personally, I don't think he's hindered. I don't think you could say he's hindered us. I think he's helped us in terms of he's our top goal scorer in the Premier League. He's the reason that we're still in the Champions League. I think a lot of people compare it to the front three that we had of Martial, Greenwood and Rashford, and they say that it's a lot more of a fluid front three, a lot more interchanging, and that there is an argument for that. But then for me, I still think, as things stand, Martial hasn't been playing anyway, and that's got to be partly down to him and his lack of performances on the pitch when he has played. So him going to Sevilla is no surprise in that sense. Obviously, Green was out the equation now anyway.
Him going to Sevilla, because I thought maybe some better teams could have maybe come in for him at least.
I think it's a perfect move for him personally. I think La Liga is still a good quality league. Sevilla are second in the league, aren't they? So they're potentially in a title race, and it's a good move. I think it's a position they're quite light in as well. They don't have many options, so I think it's a good move for him. And it's only till the end of the season, and hopefully we'll get a new manager in, and he'll be back in our plans come the summer. But if not, then Sevilla could be a long-term option for him, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think if he can get kicking and firing again, maybe he does come into the equation at Manchester United again. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who would you have attempted to sign this window if you were Man United? Like, who was realistically an option and that you maybe could have got, but obviously now it looks like you aren't going to bring anybody in.
Well, just look at Juventus. They went and signed Dennis Zakaria for $6 million, and we were in the window for him, and we were talking to his agent. We were in talks to sign him, and we backed out the deal. I mean, he would have been perfect. Kamara would have been perfect. Boubacar Kamara for $5 million as well. Yeah. Two players whose contracts were ending in the summer anyway, so we have nothing to lose in terms of very little amount of money spent on them, and potentially a lot gained for the long term. And obviously the short term, in terms of it's a position we're very short in. We've got no options essentially. We've got now McTominay, Fred, and Matic. And Matic isn't really
just a big shout out to everyone who's. Sorry, just a big shout out to everyone who is watching live. If you've got any questions, throw them in the comments and we'll try and do our best to get them all answered. Thanks, Thomas, for your 2 questions so far, mate. So at the minute, there's not really any breaking news, but obviously there will be soon, I guess.
What's it called? That Boubacar Kamara one must hurt if I'm a United fan, man. For such a cheap price, I believe it's 10 million from Marseille. Like a young, cheap DM who has bags of potential.
And he can play centre-back as well if you ever have like an injury crisis.
Right, exactly.
I'm surprised no one's gone for him, to be fair, in this January window. Because obviously, as you say, he's been linked with all sorts, but he hasn't actually moved. It's so surprising.
When I've seen clips of him and occasionally watched the Marseille game, he just looks like such a good player, like a composed on the ball. He's got quite a lot of good attributes defensively. I just think he would have made so much sense, but that's exactly the point, though, isn't it? We don't make signings that make sense. So yeah.
I suppose. What do you make of Donny van der Beek's move? We'll go with Usman first.
For me, it's a baffling one, to be quite frankly honest with you. The reason being is, Everton came in for Donny van der Beek in summer, for a loan move, and Manchester United rejected it. We've then proceeded to not play him at all, and wasted the 6 months of a player's life. I just don't understand it. Of course, off the back of wasting a season of his life as well. So for me, our treatment of Donny van der Beek is nothing short of unacceptable, to be quite frankly honest with you. If we had no intention of playing him, we should have got rid of him in summer on loan. He would have had a full season at Everton rather than him going at this point. But we've loaned him out in January, better late than ever, I suppose. And we've not brought in a replacement, which, as gentlemen just said, that is absolutely baffling. We had 2 clear options that are very cheap that I could have brought in, but we've not done that as well. So at the end of the day, with the Van der Beek thing, he wasn't getting any minutes, so I'd rather he goes away and actually plays football. But at the same time, our midfield's very threadbare, so if someone was to get an injury, God forbid, who are we playing? Hopefully Medjugorje gets an opportunity. He's doing well at Tunisia at the moment, but the Donny thing, it just doesn't make sense from start to finish, not even just now, but in terms of from the summer. I just don't understand why we didn't let him go to Everton in summer, because that would have just saved us 6 months of complete hassle.
Yeah, I can't see why myself, to be fair. I think it was maybe Solskjaer was going to maybe implement him, and then he just thought, actually, nah. But we'll move on to Everton, and then we'll move on to Jack's question. Obviously, the Lampard appointment, quite an attacking manager. John, you know all about that, man. How does signing Van der Beek and Ali fit Lampard's tactical system and his plans? What do you think he'll get out of them?
It's a good question, because I think the question when they've signed them both is why they've signed them, because they seem like quite similar players, and they are, right? Because
they're literally similar players.
Like Dele Alli's best performances for Spurs have basically come when he's played as close to the striker as humanly possible. When he's
Sorry to interrupt, but I was reading something, and Dele Alli got 18 goals in, I think it was the 16-17 or the 15-16 season. I was like, what?
Non-penalties as well.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Even still, he was on pens. That's still impressive. But go on, John, I'll let you.
like, yeah, he was that sort of guy, and I think it was a quote from around that time from Lampard, which basically said, like, he's better than I was at 20, like, and he was praising his instinct of the fact that a lot of players who play in the same position, they get to the box, they almost forget how to play, whereas Ali at the time was going that extra mile and scoring the goals. But it's a similar situation to Van der Beek, right? Because as much as people can say like, oh, he can play deeper, he can play in sort of a 3, he can play maybe even in a 2, like double pivot. Van der Beek's best appearances when he played for Ajax were when he almost had the sort of freedom of the pitch to sort of play behind the striker, make his way into the box, move into the wide positions, and sort of be free to terrorise the defence how he seed fit. Which, when you've got a player sort of occupying that position in Bruno Fernandes at United, you're not gonna swap Bruno for Van der Beek in that position. So how they fit together is quite an interesting conundrum, because you're looking at Everton and their midfield is probably one of their more stronger positions as it is. You've got Allen, you've got Doucouré, you've got Gomez, all of which are really good players in terms of the Everton squad. So my guess is he ends up playing Ali in sort of the 10 close to Calvert-Lewin, and then he maybe even tries to deploy Van der Beek maybe in sort of the right-hand side, maybe out wide on the right, or he just uses them as both options and sort of just sees who fits better in his system. But, I mean, considering Frank Lampard was also a deadline day signing, the fact he's made another 2 deadline day signings is quite impressive. And the Ali one was looking like Newcastle was the more likely destination, but apparently it was Lampard who convinced Ali to come to Everton instead. So he obviously has plans for both of them. I think it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what those plans are, really.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to move on to Jack Izzett's question. What do we think of Weghorst to Burnley? I think it's a great move. He's like a better Chris Wood, 6'6", scores goals. He's got Champions League experience as well, hasn't he? Like, when I seen it, I was like, Burnley. And also, can we just say their announcement video was absolutely class, by the way, as well.
The Jurassic Park.
The Jurassic Park one.
Really
it was
good.
almost as good as a Bournemouth reveal of Nat Phillips. They had him watching him, Cruyff turning, Ibrahimovic, and then looking at the phone and smiling. It was great. If you haven't seen it, go onto Bournemouth social media and you'll have a bit of a 1 minute laugh or something maybe. We've also got a question from Thomas again. Will Coutinho be a good replacement for Grealish? John, I'll give this to you because I know you like Jack Grealish. So I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know if I'd like him as a person, but as a player, I think he's got a lot of quality about him. I think the problem he suffered from at City is now he has to play a lot more as part of a system rather than at Villa, where he had the sort of license to sort of do what he wanted, and the emphasis on keeping the ball is obviously a lot less in a team such as Villa as it is with City. But I think Coutinho's already proven that maybe not as a direct replacement, but as adding to the sort of post-Grealish Villa under Gerrard rebuild, he's looking like he's going to be a key part of that. And going back to Jack's question about Weghorst as well, it's not only that I think he's got like 59 goals, all of which have come in the box, which is pretty phenomenal. And you think as well, he's got a really high number of defensive pressures, which means he can defend from the front, which when you're a team like Burnley is super, super important. So on paper, it looks like a great signing, and I think it could be quite a successful one. But yeah, I think Coutinho, along with some of the other signings they made, have almost made the Grealish deal look really, really good for Villa. Whereas for City, it's maybe not so much. But I think only time will tell with both of them, really.
Yeah, Villa have had a really good window, to be fair, haven't they? Signed Lucas Digne, one of the better left backs in the league, out of the whole league. They've also signed. Who else? They signed someone else. I can't think who though. Like me. Can't remember. We'll move on because I absolutely cannot remember who Aston Villa have signed.
Oh, they signed what's his name from Arsenal?
Callum Chambers.
Oh, Chambers.
Yeah, Callum Chambers. And again, it's like the trend of transfers nowadays where they just go completely under the radar.
They let Matt Target go, haven't they, to Newcastle as well?
Matt Target to Newcastle has gone under the radar. Yeah.
That wasn't surprising though. As soon as Digne got announced, you thought Matt Target might be looking to go because obviously he's not going to get a game now, is he?
I think it was under like some Aston Villa fan page, or if not the actual club page on Twitter. Some guy was like, he tweeted out missed opportunity in this window, and I'm like, that's kind of interesting because I guess from non-Villa fans' perspective, we kind of see, they brought in Coutinho, Lucas Digne, they re-signed Martinez to a contract, right? All these good things, I guess, from a non-Villa perspective.
Seems like a good window from, as you say.
Robin Olsen as well, haven't they?
Right, but then he was mentioning, we should have brought in a DM. I'm like, that's pretty interesting. That was pretty interesting, just because,
I think the DM thing's a good shout though, because I think it's something that they're sort of lacking. Because I think from maybe, like you were saying, a non-Villa fan perspective, you look at their team and you think, they're in midfield, they've got Ramsey, they've got McGinn, they've got Douglas Luiz. You wouldn't really probably think of it as a position that needs to be strengthened, but none of those players really play a sort of out-and-out DM role. Douglas Luiz plays it for them at the moment, but he's not doing a bad job, but you could get someone in that could be a lot better. I think Basuma's probably the player that they've got their eye on, or maybe Glenn Kamara from Rangers to link up with Gerrard again. But I think both of them are sort of deals for the summer. I think you'd really struggle to get either of them over the line in January, because Rangers aren't going to let one of their starting midfielders go when they're in a title race with Celtic, and Brighton aren't going to let Basuma go in January when they don't have time to properly think out who they're going to replace him with. So
it shows the ambition of Villa, though, doesn't it? The fact that they're now making big signings in January, and people and their fans are expecting even more from them. Like they're a club that's got money, and there's clearly their owners have got ambition to take them to European football, which, you know, with the Premier League right now feels to me like a bit of a super league, where you've got clubs like Everton, Villa, Newcastle, mid-table clubs with a lot of money. And I think teams like United and Arsenal probably have to be wary of that, because you could easily get caught by these smaller teams that are now investing money. That's my worry.
that Coutinho signing really, I guess, really wraps it all around, just because, absolute player at his peak, right? Forksau was at 120 mil to Barca, gets on loan to Bayern Munich, so he plays for some of the biggest clubs in the world. And for him to be loaned out to Aston Villa it's like a great, from an Aston Villa perspective, he's like, we're a big club. We may not be to like Liverpool, Barca, or Bayern Munich, but we're like a club that can actually like stand out at here. You know what I'm trying to say? And signing that Coutinho was like, it's a statement signing. Really.
Yeah, but just to add to the Coutinho thing, I don't actually think that's down to Villa. I think that's strictly down to Steven Gerrard, to be quite frank, to do. I think in terms of the signings that they brought in, I think a lot of them is to do with Gerrard. He has got that pull. Obviously he's got that aura. He's a player that a lot of these people would have looked up to growing up as well. Like you look at Ramsey, for example. He's come on leaps and bounds already. It's in particular under Gerrard. Gerrard's sort of new tenure, so to speak. I think Ramsey's playing a more advanced role than he initially was prior to Gerrard's arrival. So for me personally, I think Gerrard deserves the most credit, really. I know the board have come out and backed him, but I think the way Gerrard's applied himself and got the right people in, like Digne from Everton, the fact that they've bullied Everton out of their main left back, one of the best in the league, for me says a lot about Aston Villa. I think that signing for me, more than the Coutinho one, was more for wake-up call that Aston Villa aren't messing around, because the fact that they've gone and bullied someone who's in a similar position to them, their main player, I think Aston Villa need they deserve a fair bit of credit, but I think Gerrard, for me personally, he's the difference at the moment.
Yeah, I just want to move on to something else. So we'll answer Thomas's question about Newcastle in I think 5 minutes time. But as rival fans, coming from a Liverpool fan's perspective, I've seen a lot of tweets in the last couple of months being like, once Klopp leaves, Liverpool are fucked and all this. Once Klopp leaves, Liverpool are done for and all this. But now with the two signings, Diaz and Carvalho, I think it shows an element of like forward planning a lot of people hadn't maybe considered. And I'm just going to throw this out there. You've got Diaz, 25, Carvalho, 19, Harvey Elliott, 18, Trent, 23, I think he is. Tsimikas, who's like 24 or 25, still young. Jota, who's 25, I think. You've got like the likes of Jones as well coming through, players like that. Is it actually a scary time for Liverpool's rivals? A bit of an under the radar kind of way. Who's going to go with you first?
Me first. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, for me personally, the two signings, I think they're absolutely outstanding signings. As you said, somewhat planning ahead. You know, a lot of people are talking about Salah's situation. A lot of people are talking about Mane's situation. And potentially one of them could be exiting, and you've already got a player to come in and potentially fill those boots. Of course, in Salah's case, you need to keep him at all costs. But in Mane's case, there has been a murmurs that you might be willing to let him go, bring in the next player. You've done that already. You've given him opportunity to bed into the team 6 months prior to the next season. Give him a couple of cameos here and there. Potentially push Mane for his spot. I know he prefers to play on the right, but of course he could play on both sides. And I think that signing for me is very integral, because at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're ahead of the game, because Man City are a different animal. We know what they're like. And next summer, their squad is already ridiculous, but they're already looking to go again. And these two signings, for the first time in a while, I would say, I think Liverpool are ahead of Man City in terms of being ahead of the curve, because Man City have eventually replaced Aguero now with a new signing. I'm sure you're going to mention at some point. But yeah, I just think with Liverpool, I think they've done very smart business. And from Klopp's perspective, it kind of shows that he's actually got the intention of staying, because these two signings are almost like a rebuild to an extent, like to go again for the next couple of years, as you mentioned, with the young players. So it's a positive sign for Liverpool. They're ahead of the curve, and I think other teams, Man City, etc., they need to be on job, because of course Liverpool are going to go again in the summer. So yeah, very positive addition for both players.
Yeah, and just on Julian Alvarez, he's a Argentinian striker, isn't he? He has, let's get it up now, for River Plate, he has 20 goals and 12 assists in 35 games. I know it's a bit different in it, but bit of a different league. He won the Copa Libertadores last season. He looks like a hell of a prospect, doesn't he? And Man City really get it wrong, really. Neither the Liverpool though either. Like the likes of Diaz, Diaz has played against, I think, like 4 times in the last 2 seasons, and then he's ripping up the league. He's got 14 goals and 5 assists. So, and he looks like he's mature enough to kick on, kind of thing, as well, and like come into a different league and rip it up. He's already done it, and he scored that absolute wonder goal against City in the Champions League.
Yeah,
he looks like a scary baller, to be fair. Yeah, we'll just move on to Thomas's question. Do we think Newcastle will stay up with their signings? I'll give this to Nick, because he hasn't really had a chance that much.
I think they will, just solely due to the fact that they're signing like quality, like actual quality players. They're not signing players who aren't going to improve Newcastle at all. They may have missed out on signing Diego Carlos from Sevilla, because they really need a center back, man. Like, they really need one. Like, the center backs they currently have are just not good enough, especially if they want to stay up. So I'm gonna go with they are going to stay up, but it's solely due to the fact of Kieran Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, and just other players they're probably going to bring in. Well, not anymore, but yeah, I think they'll stay up. Just there's players that have so much more quality than the other relegation candidates like Norwich.
Yeah. So does anyone else want to add anything on that point?
Yeah,
I don't think Newcastle goes down.
Go on.
I keep it true. You go first, I'll go second. Quiet.
All right. No, I think Newcastle will stay up as well. I think Dan Burn's actually an underrated signing as well. Like the signings they've made are very good, but Dan Burn at centre back is obviously the position that they're weakest in. He's not. Don't get me wrong. He's no Diego Carlos. Like that would have been a good signing, but he's actually got a surprisingly good touch on him, and he's quite good at. He's used to playing in a Brighton team that plays out from the back, which is what Eddie Howe likes to play. So the style of football he likes to play, and he's just a solid centre back, isn't he? Like he's good in the air. He's tall. He's got the attributes to be a good signing for them, I think. So he should solidify things. And then you've obviously got Trippier, who's a player that's been playing for Atletico Madrid in the Champions League until quite recently. So, yeah, I mean, they've done good business as far as I'm concerned. Bruno Guimaraes, I think, is obviously the standout signing. I would have taken him at United, to be honest. But, he looks like a good player from what I've seen of him.
Yeah, just to add to the comments regarding the defense. For me, the one thing I affiliate with teams that get relegated is the fact that they leak a lot of goals. And the one thing that Eddie Howe has done in his window is that I found the most impressive is improving the defense, because as we all know, the Newcastle defense isn't the greatest. And he's brought in Trippier, he's brought in Burn, and he's brought in Target. For me, 3 players experienced with the Premier League, they know by the intensity. As you mentioned, Trippier's got, bags of experience. He's already hit the ground running. I think them 3 signings to solidify the defense is going to massively help him stay up. Of course, we understand that, the defense isn't going to keep clean sheets week out, but it's a huge upgrade on what they had. And for me, with Bruno as well in front of them, just dictating play, controlling the game, something Newcastle don't do enough of, might bring the best out of other players like St. Maxim, who might actually have more influence in the game because his team's controlling the game more. So I think it's going to massively benefit. And obviously we've got Wood up top as well with Wilson when he eventually comes back. So I think Newcastle have more than enough to get up. My only question is Eddie Howe good enough to keep him up? So I don't know if anyone else wants to answer them. I think there's still a question mark with Eddie Howe.
Personally, I think it's a shame they couldn't get that etiquette or whatever he's called. I don't know, probably just butchered the pronunciation of that again, like I did on Redmen before. But anyway, it would have been very good if they got him, I think, because it adds an extra striking dimension. He's apparently quite fast as well, quite a good striker. But I think they should have enough to stay up. And I think, to answer yours, I think Eddie Howe is definitely good enough. We've seen what he could do at Bournemouth. He beat Chelsea. Was it 3-0, John?
3-1, I think it was, yeah.
Oh, 3-1 maybe. But he beat Chelsea with an absolute tactical masterclass. If you haven't seen that, there's a wonderful video on YouTube. I think it's called The Coach's Voice or something. Fantastic. He goes through how he done it, what his tactics was, and how the goals happened, basically, and all that. It was brilliant. I think he definitely is the man to keep them up. It's whether he can with the amount of games you've got left, though.
Go on.
I think as well there's that clip, isn't there, where his Bournemouth team score a really good goal against Liverpool and Klopp just turns to him and goes, wow. And he's just stupidly impressed. I think Newcastle signings look pretty decent on paper. I think Matt Target in on loan obviously improves the left back spot. Kieran Trippier improves the right back spot. Every one of them improves a spot. Chris Wood maybe doesn't improve on Callum Wilson, but adds a different option, and also takes it away from Burnley. Whether obviously Burnley's sort of replacement proves to be better, we'll see. But yeah, I think it is just a case of how quickly can he get them to gel in, how quickly can he start playing the football he wants to play, and whether he does have enough time to do it. I think it's just a case of time, really. I think Norwich, shown their intent on what they think is going to happen with what they've done in the window, which is nothing. I think Burnley.
I think they have had financial constraints, though, John. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think. But every club, if you tell me a club that has financial constraints but actually can't sign players, like Barcelona were meant to have stupid financial constraints and sign half a team. But I think Burnley as well. I think they've replaced Chris Wood well. Whether they have enough already with that addition to stay up is interesting. I think Watford have signed some really good players. Obviously, they did all their business sort of pre-transfer window. I think obviously they wanted to see if they could get Dean Henderson in. Obviously, United have said no way, which I think is a bit of a mistake on both parts. And I think it's a mistake that Henderson isn't leaving. I think he'll be really annoyed about that because he's not playing. And he would be their starting goalkeeper in the Premier League, which is where he wants to play. But Watford's business has been just as good as a lot of teams. Maybe not as big names, but in terms of positions they needed to strengthen, they've done just as good a job. But I think it just adds to the relegation battle, doesn't it? Like it was already hotting up as it is, but now with these signings coming in, I think it just adds to the drama, doesn't it? Because if Newcastle go down now, after signing what is essentially half a team, then it's going to be looking pretty poor from them. But I've got some breaking Chelsea news if people want.
What is it? Go on.
So it appears we've signed Mason Burstow from Charlton Athletic.
Couldn't tell you about this.
He's an 18-year-old striker. He's an 18-year-old striker who has played plays for Charlton's senior team, and I mean, it looks like just another one of sort of us adding to the stats. He's got a goal involvement every 77 minutes in 14 appearances for Charlton senior side, and it looks like we're going to be loaning him back for the rest of the season, and then he's going to link up with our under 23s. But that's pretty much the most exciting thing that's happened at Chelsea. So there you go.
I see you excited.
Yeah,
15 minutes left. 15 minutes left of the window, and apparently Liverpool's Carvalho deal is going to go down to the wire. Wonder if Aubameyang's deal with Barca can be completed as well. It's going to be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. What do people, while we're talking about like sort of deals, what do people think of Aaron Ramsey going to Rangers? Because I think it is really good. I really like it.
I personally can't wait to see him linking up with Ahmad because
same.
Watching Ahmad's debut the weekend, I was really impressed. And now they've got Celtic on Wednesday. I don't know if Ramsey will. I don't know if Ramsey would be ready for that, but if he is, that's a big game with, and they've just strengthened massively with those two signings. So
speaking of
Rangers have got to win
former
the
Premier League ballers, Christian Erickson back to Brentford. Obviously, it's the feel-good story.
Yeah,
but obviously he's going to be trying to do his best because he's got to get a place in the Denmark World Cup squad. Still, he's got to play and earn that place. He's not just going to get put in on merit. Is he? You know, regardless of what happened at the Euros, he's going to be like still going to have to work for a place in the squad.
he's got to. I think he's
really
got to work his way into the Brentford team, and I don't think that necessarily happens straight away for me. I think with someone like him, obviously he's got all the talent. We know about that, but with what happened to him, you can't just throw him in, week out, playing 90 minutes. He's got to be thrown in gradually, I think, playing 20 minutes here, half an hour here. And then if he does well off the bench, then you probably start playing him more regularly. But personally, I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm not sure if he has a future with Denmark, to be honest. But we'll just have to see how he does, really.
Yeah, I think a Premier League club was I think it was one of the only big leagues he can move to as well because of the I don't like the heart monitor thing he's got implanted in him. Oh, certain leagues have certain rules about what players can have in that sort of respect, and I think obviously Serie A is a lot more conservative, so obviously he wasn't going to be allowed to play there. But I think the Premier League have a bit more of a relaxed rule on it. And I think some of the other leagues also have similar rules to Serie A. So I think the Premier League was sort of, which is kind of surprising considering how the Premier League is seen as having the highest tempo and being the most physical, but it has the most relaxed rules on it all. But I think it's not a bad signing. It can't be a bad signing. Like Brentford and Danish players always seems to work. So why not really?
I don't know. Just on touching on that, I don't know if anyone saw, but Fabrice Muamba, obviously what happened with him, he did a video on the topic and basically said that he thinks it's a mistake Erickson going back and playing football because going through that same process himself, he felt that going back to playing football was too much of a risk, and you've obviously got to put your health first and your family first. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I mean he's not wrong, but I guess it's his decision, right? If he's not being forced to do anything. Maybe he's discussed it with his family, and maybe he's gone, look, I'm not ready to give football up yet, and if I have the chance to play and keep playing, then I'm going to do it. And maybe that is with sort of the World Cup in mind, and maybe that's sort of the reasoning behind it. But I do agree though. It is a risk, and you don't want a player to have a high risk of any sort of bad thing happening to them when they're playing, but it's just going to have to be one of those things where you just have to hope that it works out all okay, and we see Erickson enjoying his football and being all right, really.
Well, that'd be the best thing, isn't it? It's seeing him enjoy it, scoring a few goals and enjoying football again, and playing well for Brentford, which he's obviously capable of doing.
And in my opinion, I think that's what it's all about. Obviously, if it's his choice and he does want to play, looking at it, I think it's a great move for him. Like obviously, it's not. as big of a spotlight as he was maybe at Inter or a top team in Europe's top 5 leagues. With somewhere where he can go play his football, he can start games here and there, and just it's a solid move for him to really get back into the groove of playing football and being a professional football player. For maybe when he does get that big move, I don't know, maybe top 6 team in the Premier League or a top team in any other top 4 leagues. But it's a solid like stepping stone where it's like, okay, I can play some football here and just keep moving on upwards.
This is stressed, whether this deal is going to go through or not.
Oh,
Sky Sports, it's that simple stuff. The deal sheet's got to be spot on. Like all the details on it's got to be accurate.
I have a little question on that. Since Carvalho is going back to Fulham on loan, what if it doesn't go through? Like, wouldn't it not matter?
I'm pretty sure I've seen something before. If the loan doesn't go through, the move doesn't go through, because that's the whole condition of it. Fulham want to sell him. With the loan being part of it, kind of thing. So yeah, basically, if the loan doesn't go, which I think means also that there's got to be 2 separate deal sheets, and obviously one's through the EFL, one's through the
Premier League.
So it could be quite complicated. So this way, I'll be up till about 2 p.m. probably, because I know it's 1 p.m. the deadline for the sheet.
1 p.m.
Yeah, basically the deadline's 1 p.m. for the sheet for the deal to be completed after the deal sheet.
Jesus Christ, 1 p.m.
I know. It's like another 12 hours.
No, it's actually 2 hours.
You've got a long night ahead of you.
Yeah.
Dave, do you understand what we're saying?
What do you mean?
Because you kept saying it's 1 p.m.
1 a.m.
Oh, 1 a.m. Yeah, you know what I mean.
1 a.m. You do get a couple of hours extra. I mean, it's definitely going to go through it.
2 hours.
I'm very stressed about the situation.
Liverpool are like me, leaving me uni stuff till fucking 23:59, mate.
Nah, it's going to definitely get through, man. It's not like
I hope so.
I think
breaking news. Dan Burner's move to Newcastle has been confirmed. So that's good for Newcastle.
That's like I think he's a Newcastle fan as well, isn't he? Because he's from Blythe, which is right next to Newcastle.
Yeah. He's in their youth academy as a kid, I think, as well.
Also, the Palace have signed. Looks like they've signed Luke Plange from Derby.
Oh yeah, the Derby.
Obviously, he's a striker. I think they were trying to work out, because of Derby's administration and all the transfer embargo they've got, whether they were allowed to loan back a player that they already had, basically. And I think the EFL said it's fine, because it doesn't change anything in terms of the finances already, because I think Palace have basically said, we'll sign him, but then you can have him back for nothing. So it looks like he's signing for Palace for $1 million, and that's and then he's going to be loaned back to Derby for the rest of the season. So I guess that helps Derby in their sort of financial peril that they're in as well. But also it means that Derby, if they hadn't had their players taken, could have had a front three of Luke Plange, Liam Delap, and Kay Gordon.
Yeah.
Which would have been pretty good, really.
Pretty easy, that, yeah. I mean, it's a race against time, I think, for Barca's deal for the Aubameyang to go through, but I'm not sure if it's what you call it.
Real quick question for John. Obviously, you're a Chelsea fan. Chilwell and Reece James were injured. I mean, both key wingbacks. Did you have any expectations going into this window? Maybe picking up a couple wingbacks or no?
Well, I think obviously the Reece James one, he's pretty much going to be back now for our next league game, and he'll almost definitely be back for the Carabao Cup final. I think right wing back, we've got as P can play there. You can play sort of Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic there and sort of deal with that. I think the Chilwell one, I think Chelsea, we were really reluctant to sign anyone on a permanent deal, because obviously we have Alonso as it is, and Chilwell is going to come back at some point, and then you're going to end up with 3. So we looked at options of basically, we asked Leon if we could have Emerson back, and they said no. And then we looked at whether we could bring back, there's a guy on loan at, where's he on loan at? Coventry at the moment, Ian Mattison, who's like a young one. He's playing quite well for Coventry at the moment in the Championship. But I think in the end, we were sort of just determined to weather the storm. We had Malang Sarr play left wing back for a couple of games. We have Lewis Hall, who made his debut for us in the FA Cup, who's now in part of the first team squad. So I think we sort of just felt that it probably wasn't worth it at this stage. If maybe we were in a lot stronger position in terms of maybe the title race or something like that, maybe that's a different story. I think the only person we could have potentially got in that position was Luca Digne, and I think he would have been open to it, but I think we weren't really going to be willing to pay 25 for a permanent. I think we were more hoping for a loan with maybe an option to buy. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have any expectations in this window anyway. I think we signed sort of in the position we needed in the summer. It's not gone great as with it, but I think our money is going to be spent next summer, and we'll just see where we're at that point. So yeah, it's just boring. That's the only problem with it. It's just boring because you want your club to sign someone like Diaz, or you want them to sign someone like of that sort of like ilk, but I don't know. It is what it is, really. So
trust me, John. You do not want to be in this position right now, waiting for this deal to potentially bottle it.
Yeah, but this is for like someone who like. It's like I get he's like a good, decent like young player, but it's not exactly like it's not like it's the other way around where you've got the Carvalho deal through, you're waiting on the Diaz deal. It's like
Still, the reaction if we don't do this, the fan base will be mad.
Yeah,
Twitter will be fucking absolute scenes as per usual. To be fair, but
it's gonna be FSG out again, isn't it? Obviously,
if this gets messed up over the forms, man, and over us not doing it, or like they're doing the deal sheet wrong, I swear. But Dele Alli hasn't even done it. I don't think he hasn't been confirmed yet by Everton, so they'll obviously be submitting a deal sheet. So
I'm getting flashbacks of Garlo now because we left the Garlo right to like the wire. Like we did not know if it was going to go through or not. But
yeah, we've got
slightly
2
different.
minutes.
Yeah, the Ali one's a weird transfer as well because if it goes through, apparently, basically Everton get him for free at the start, but then after 20 games they have to pay 10, and then there's like a bunch of appearance add-ons which basically make it go up to 40 million by the end if they all get activated, which is a bit of a mad figure for a guy who's not played well for about half a decade.
Who do you guys like? Not in Premier League, but who do you guys think won the transfer window? Or maybe it is someone in the Prem. What club do you guys think won the window? Me personally, I think Juve.
Oh, sorry.
Juventus. Juventus.
Yeah, Vlahovic, big signing. Get rid of Kulusevski and
Zakaria, I think it shows intent from Juventus. I think it also shows that they've still got some stupidly big pulling power. Like, despite the fact that they're not just there constantly winning Serie A titles now, it still shows that they are like the number one option for players in sort of Serie A still, which is, I think, a big factor. I think Aston Villa have done reasonably well. I don't think anyone in the Premier League has out and out won it though, in terms of just the Premier League. I think a few teams have had good windows. I think a few teams have had bad, some have had all right, but there's no one I look at and go, you've smashed it. Maybe Newcastle was the closest, but they were always going to sign big, so it's not as not surprising, really.
They didn't actually blow me out. I was expecting Newcastle to make a couple of signings in least where I thought, wow, like I didn't see that. I mean, the only one was the Bruno Guimaraes one. I think everyone else was like middle of the road kind of signings. I'm not saying they were bad, they just weren't spectacular.
I'd agree.
I also think Tottenham had an opportunity to have a crazy window just because Adama Traore went to Barca, they were close, and Luis Diaz went to Liverpool. And just imagine if I highly doubt they sign Kulusevski if they sign Luis Diaz, but just imagine like Luis Diaz, Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Adama Traore. They could have had an even crazier window than what they're having right now. Which is kind of like a missed opportunity, you know. So
and the transfer window is closed, so we wait and see whether Dele Alli joins Everton, whether Fabio Carvalho joins Liverpool.
I thought Dele Alli's went through.
No, not yet. It hasn't been confirmed, I don't think. And it's also
I'm sure
whether
I've seen Romano
Aubameyang comes to Barcelona.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Ramona tweeted about an hour ago saying it's gone through, but obviously he's not Sky Sports, is he? So, but
Oh my god, this is horrendous.
I think the Ali one's pretty certain. Yeah.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, whether Carvalho comes.
All right, everyone.
Oh
I gotta step out. It was nice doing this episode with y'all, man.
Go on,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Take
Thanks
care,
for
man.
coming on.
Take care.
Thanks for
Gonna
coming
go
on,
as well.
everyone.
Yeah,
Peace,
cheers,
everyone.
man.
Peace, everyone.
Guys.
Take care.
See you later.
See you later.
yes, I need to shoot. I just want to say thank you, lads, for having me. Also, if
Oh,
you are
man, no
watching
worries,
this,
No worries, mate.
slap a like, people, and subscribe to the boys, man. Make sure you show some love to the guys, man. Thank you for having me, boys.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that.
Man, thanks, man. Appreciate that, bro. See you later, lads.
See you later.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching that. That was our first ever live, and so many people actually watched it. I'm not sure it was consistent, but over 1,000 people were joining in over the whole thing. So that's according to Twitter anyway. So that's pretty impressive. Keep smashing it, guys. Follow us on crazy_kickoff. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you later.